Okay.
I mean, what kind of stuff do you want to know?
I don't know anything about your upbringing. You were in martial arts at some point, right?
Yeah, as an adult. Well, so I grew up in Albuquerque. I was the child of a nuclear physicist, Japanese. My father was my father was born in an internment camp during World War II. His parents are from Japan. They came over in their teens,
All right, that's
and
gold already.
um,
I
they
never
came
heard
over
of
in their teens, and then when the World War II started, they had all of their land taken away. They were moved into a internment camp in Colorado Springs by the U.S. government. My father was born in one of those camps, while his father, who's Japanese, went to fight for the Americans in Germany, and he would visit his family in prison basically on his breaks, leaves from the military. So that's how my dad grew up, and it was not okay to know how to speak Japanese, so he didn't learn because we're in the war with Japan, and so that was my dad, and
So
my mother.
how did your parents get to the States? His grandparents, his parents.
I don't know. They were in their teens. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know the story. Um, and then on my mom's side, so my mother and my father met in graduate school in Ithaca at Cornell. And my mother's family, they're Jewish from the Bronx. And so, I mean, it's just so funny because my mom has this like reddish brown curly hair and this big Jewish nose, and my dad's Japanese. And so here I am, I identify much more with being a Jewish white girl than being Japanese. And I grew up in a town. I grew up in Albuquerque where everyone is Mexican. So a lot of people thought I was Latina, except for the Latinas who knew I wasn't, you know. And there's like no Asians. I think there was like one other girl in my class, DU. She was the only other Asian in my high school. And my parents, it was funny because when I got older, I was telling a friend of mine, I'm a double Jap. I'm Japanese and a Jewish American and princess, you know, which are both things that are considered, they're derogatory. Um, but my Jewish friend goes, "Oh, so you have to be Jewish to get this." I think she goes, "So you're neurotic, but you're not allowed to talk about it." From the Japanese side. So my dad's super stoic. My mom talks a lot, and so I grew up like trying to. My dad told me when I was really little that to talk, like you're supposed to think through everything before you speak.
Yeah.
I super analytical. Like he would like if you here's my conversation with my dad. So Kenneth, would you like some tea? That would be nice. That's talking to my dad. So yeah, so that was my dad. And so for me, speaking at all, like in a spontaneous situation or in front of an audience, is a huge. It literally is the biggest fear that I have. It is much scarier than almost every other fear because you are not supposed to think. You're not supposed to speak without being spoken to. Children are meant to be seen, not heard, and you're never supposed to say anything unless you think through it all the way first. So you can imagine, like, for me to be a speaker is just this major transformation. To be able to get up in front of people and not have everything prepared and pre-thought out beforehand is like, it's so vulnerable for me to just be able to talk. So I've worked through most of that, but it's still like a thing. I still get super nervous.
This is great.
I mean, I have tons of stuff like that. I mean, what else do you want to know? Let's
Siblings?
see. Huh?
Siblings?
Yeah. So my sister is a medical writer for a biotech, or like medical diagnostic company. She's a PhD scientist. She got lupus when she was like 13 or 14. I was 8. And I remember like she got really sick one summer, like so sick that she couldn't get out of bed. for the whole summer. And we kept taking her to the hospital, and it was like one of those life-changing experiences for her and me, because she was, she's 13 in the hospital all summer, can't get out of bed, can't walk. My dad was super, like, the way he expresses concern is he yells at you. And he just kept asking her what did she do wrong and what was wrong with her. But none of the doctors could figure it out because they didn't know what she had. And so she was misdiagnosed. I remember going to the hospital when I was 8 and visiting my sister in the hospital, and like walking down this corridor with my dad. And I just remember thinking that I thought to myself, when I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor so I can help my sister. And that was when I was 8. And it was funny because, like, right around that same time, I had told my mom that I was going to be a cleaning lady. And she goes, "Why are you going to be a cleaning lady?" And I said, "Because I can help people." Like, so I've wanted to help people since I was, little. And then my mom, and I remember having that conversation with my mom, and my mom goes, "Well, you might want to do something else besides cleaning lady. There's lots of other things you can do too to help people, And I'm like what? She's like, "Well, doctor, firefighter, there's so many ways to help people." And so when my sister got sick, I remember thinking, I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up. And so, my sister came home from the hospital. To this day, she's on probably 15 or 20 medications. And it totally changed her personality. Like, in some ways we're the same, and in other ways we're so different. And the main way that we're different is that when I see risk, I go for it. And when she sees risk or something she's afraid of, she runs away. And so it makes us really, really different. She does not get my life at all. But, but we love her. We love each other. I love her. And so when I got out of college, I actually applied to go to medical school, and I did not get in because I thought that medicine was, I thought it was atrocious that you would put people through school and then have your emergency, like your ER surgeon, work 110 hours a week. Like, to know, when I found out that doctors who are operating on you hadn't slept for 48 hours, I completely flipped out. Like, they hadn't slept for 48 hours and they're going into a surgery. Like, how is this okay? So I went to my medical school interviews sharing how I was going to change medicine, and they didn't let me in. I didn't know at the time. It wasn't a very good sales pitch.
Loving this.
So what ended up happening was, all along the way, I had gotten kind of pretty sick. Like, I had really bad skin allergies. There was a time when I got out of college, I had this job, and I had a rash on like 50% of my body. It was so bad that I couldn't work. I would go to work, but I couldn't work because I was so itchy.
Was it psoriasis?
And I was just eczema.
Okay.
I was afraid to show my face. I was afraid to show my skin. I was super itchy. I had gotten so itchy. Hi.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes, quickly.
When can I babysit from 4:15 to 5:45? Or, yeah.
Today?
4:15, yeah, 5:45.
If you do the pool and your homework.
I did the pool, I have to do the odds.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do both of those. So.
Okay. Okay. So it was an eczema, like just an allergic dermatitis. And I had already like ruled out Western medicine because I knew that, like, all the things that they tried to do for me, I knew were just making it worse. I knew that it was like pushing the disease inside. And so at some point, though, I didn't really seriously consider it, but it did cross my mind that I should just kill myself because I was that miserable that I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything. And finally, my acupuncturist said, "You got to go see this woman in San Francisco." So I go to see this woman in San Francisco, who I go to see till this day. This was 20 years ago. And within 3 days, it was 80% gone. And she was an acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist from Beijing. And so I decided to go to acupuncture school. So I left my career in biotech and went to Chinese medicine school. And I'll tell you, like, one of the things that happened that was so hard was I had these patients. I was an intern. I had to do like 1,000 hours as an intern treating patients. And this is after like 4 years of school. Like you have to learn all the things you learn in medical school, plus all the things you have to learn for Chinese medicine, all the herbal combinations, all the acupuncture points. And I remember having this patient come in to clinic when I was an intern, and she had irritable bowel syndrome, and she was having like 5 to 7 episodes of diarrhea or completely liquid stool a day. And she came into the acupuncture clinic, and we treated her, and we changed her diet, told her what not to eat, what to eat, gave her herbs, acupuncture. And within 2 weeks, she was keeping a food journal, and within 2 weeks, she was normal. She had it like her whole life, and she was normal within 2 weeks. And she was so excited, and we were all excited because we found the thing that worked. And then 2 weeks later, she was back to the way she was. And that's actually when I decided not to be an acupuncturist, because I couldn't even deal with how even when people know what there is to do and they can actually see the solution, we're not able to actually change. And it just impacted me so much. I was so frustrated. I'm like, how can you see that there's this solution, but what is it about our humanness or our physiology or our psychology that, like, even when you know what the answer is, you still can't take care of yourself? Like, it's so fucked up, you know? And when I finally started doing personal development, I went to Landmark, I don't know, must have been 3 or 4 years later after I'd gotten divorced. I finally saw what actual change, like what an adult human being, what it takes for an adult human being to actually change, like for real, like one day you're a smoker for 15 years and then the next day you're not, like, and you never pick it up again. Or you're a total dick to your family for your whole life. And then one day you have this total like realization and true insight. So you're not even trying to change, you just are different. And I saw that there. And that's when I became a coach, because I was like, oh my God, this is what is the piece that's missing for all those people that wish they could be different and wish they could produce results and wish they could change their lives, but you just can't, because all the learning in the world isn't going to do it. But when you see these things and you actually shift, you're never the same. And that's what I think I do for my clients, just around the narrow field of selling. You know, all of a sudden you're like Bridget says, I can't believe I actually like sales now, because she saw something that she'd never seen before. And so, I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about coaching sales, you know? Yeah. And then I have a ton of stuff with relationship. I mean, my ex-husband, I mean, he's a good dad. He did the best job he could. But we were not really a match, you know, and we tried so hard to like be a match, but you know, we have totally different work ethics. I married him because he's like this super fun, cool guy. But at the end of the day, I don't really want fun and cool. I want somebody I can count on, you know? But I didn't know that when I was 28. And so we have this beautiful son together. But I remember right after I did the Landmark Forum, I saw for the first time what our relationship must have been like for him after like 11 years together. I had no idea. And so I go to his house the Monday after I did this. It's like a 3-day course. And I said, you know, can I talk to you for a minute? And he said, sure. So we go into his house. This was before either of us were seeing anybody. So I go into his house and we're sitting at his kitchen table. He'd moved out like 3 or 4 months before. And so we were sitting at his kitchen table and I said, you know, there's something that I saw this weekend. I did this course and I hadn't realized it. And I said, I'm so sorry that I've been, hang on, children. Okay. I told him, I said, I want to just, first of all, I want to acknowledge you for all the things that you've done for us, like for sacrificing, like you didn't move to Australia when you wanted to, and you didn't take that job on the East Coast, like all the things that you sacrificed for me and for Dylan. I've never even told you how much I appreciate you. I've never even said thank you. And I said, so I just wanted to thank you for that. And I said, I also want to apologize for, me not appreciating you and not recognizing you and just, just not being that person that was appreciating you. And then I said, I would love for us to, we were already going to be pretty good co-parents because we both have we really do pretty good job of putting our child's need first, I said. But I said, I don't want to just be like, we get along because we have to, but I really want to create a partnership with you where we're really together in raising this great kid, even though we're not going to be together. And we're like both crying. And he says, I've been waiting for you to tell me this for a long time. And I'm like, I know. And he said, well, he's like, I want to do this, be your partner. He said, but it might just take me a little while to like get over stuff. And I said, okay, it's totally fine. And so we are, and we've been divorced for 10 years and we talk every month. We go to sports games together. We go to birthday parties together. We don't, it's not like we're best friends. There's things that we definitely don't agree on, but there's so much more important things to do, than be upset. Like, I don't think about the past or injuries to me. Like, I don't hold any of that stuff. That's why I have such a hard time with my story, because I don't think about that stuff. I'm like, I was so over it 10 years ago. But what I'm really connected to is that, that we're able to create this relationship. Like, I know I'm not the only one, even though he and I, we still get in arguments even now, but it's like, arguments or disagreements or dislikes aside, we're still partners to raise this kid. And he does stuff that drives me crazy all the time, but it doesn't really matter, And that's why we started our relationship company, is because there was a time when he would come over and it would be like Peter, me, Greg, and my son Dylan all at the kitchen table. We'd be doing Dylan's calendar because he's been living in 2 houses for 10 years. And so it's like, where's Dylan going to be? He's got this sporting game and this picture day and like drive back and forth, and whose house is he going to sleep at? Like all that stuff we've been doing for 10 years, navigating where he's supposed to be. And we do it relatively effortlessly, So we started Family Co. because I really saw that there's no reason for people who are divorced to actually hold anything from the past anymore. Like, there shouldn't be, if you actually get responsible for that, you were probably a shithead in your marriage and maybe you made the wrong choice marrying this person or not, you still have to own it, and there's no reason why you can't really truly put your differences aside for the sake of a child. But what percentage of people actually do that? I don't know. Probably very few, and I can't say that we're perfect at it, but we certainly really, really, really try to put our differences aside. And we don't really have any differences anymore. He asks me for stuff. I say no. He gets upset with me. And I'm like, well, the answer is no. I'm already his ex-wife, so what's he going to do? But for the most part,
Did he remarry or what?
Yeah, he got remarried. He has a very lovely wife, just very sweet, and probably a much better fit for him than I was, and now I say, like, all of that stuff that I went through, I went through 3 years that I would say is like probably the worst 3 years of my whole life before we got divorced. It was just horrible. Just kind of working through, the choices that I made and the things that I didn't do well and, all of the disappointment. But because of all of that, it's what makes me such a great wife, and Peter and I Peter's been married twice before me. And we both know that we could take our relationship apart in under 30 days. Like, we could absolutely destroy every ounce of love and grace in 30 days and we would be divorced. In fact, we could probably do it faster than 30 days. But we don't. Because we both know what it is to do that, but we don't know what it is to be married to the same person for our whole lives. So that's what we're up to, you know, and it makes me a much better, just a better parent, a better wife, better friend, better coach. Yeah. I mean, I've got like, I don't know, I could talk for days on being a parent and like the things I've learned from my children. And I look at Peter and it's just like, I know that he doesn't need me, you know, and I don't really need him. We don't need each other. We just want each other. We just want to be around each other. So we laugh. We call each other, he's peas and I'm carrots. You know how peas and carrots, like when you buy cut peas and carrots in the freezer bag in the freezer, like in the grocery store, they're like in a bag together. So like he's peas and carrots and we're peas and carrots in a bag because we like go together, like peanut butter and chocolate, you know. And then we nicknamed all the kids. Dylan looks Asian, so he's edamame. And then we've got Sweet Pea, that's Tommy, and then Lance is, I can't remember what we call him, some other kind of bean, you know, and that's our, you know, we call our family's called Team D. So for Deep Stratton. And it's like all the kids, even like our 5-year-old knows that he has a role on Team D. Like Dylan's role is, you know, his role is to be a really good student, clean the pool and mow the lawn, you know, and do the dishes. Like that's his job and he knows that it's important. And so does he always want to do it? No, but we each have our role that we play in our family and together we all win. So when I have to go out of town, I remember like when I was dating Peter and I was, I don't know what I was doing. I was out of the house and he was home and I wanted to be there with him. And you know, being a working woman, like he stays at home and I work. You know, he does, I mean, not that he doesn't work, but like he's home with the kids when I'm traveling. And so I remember just having these conversations with him, like, you know, I feel really bad that I'm not there. I feel guilty that I should be there with you. And I remember him saying to me, you know, we're on Team D together. He's like, it just happens to be like right now, your part, you know, the part that you represent of Team D has to be out with people. And the part of Team D that has to be in the home, which is me, has to be home. But we're both on the same team. And that's how our whole life is.
And then what Peter brings to the table too, because of his construction skills and being brought up by his mum and dad, he really gets how all the pieces get together. Because I think there's a missing element, because I know he's sitting at the back of the room in his director's chair and you just find the two of you like, you know, holding the table. But at the same time, people don't quite know why he's there. I mean, I know why he's there, but I don't think people do. So I want to bring more of that out too, and not necessarily have him on stage, but he understands construction. So how a house needs a great foundation and well insulated and built and finished and airtight and watertight. And between the two of you, when you come to somebody's strategy, you know, you understand how to build it, but you've got that empathetic, oh my gosh, so much better. This is going to rock. What's your sister's name, by the way?
Lauren. So you know what we did last week is before I left for Lisa's event, Peter had bought, you know, we have family night every Wednesday night or Thursday night. So, but before we left, we did family night. It was like Tuesday, and he bought a gingerbread kit.
Yes,
I showed you that. Did I show you the 27 panel one he built? Okay, he mitered the corners. He made the corners 40 on the 45 so that when you put them together, you wouldn't see the rough edge. So I come home to this 3-story gingerbread house. I mean, that's what he does. And I'm like, this is what you did while I was gone? He's like, yeah, I was entertaining Tommy for like 2 nights. Like we were gluing all the candy, like, you know, putting icing on and putting on the candy on. I'm like, okay, so that's Peter. Like, the guy's crazy. I mean, he's like, on our second date, he made me a handmade cherry pie with like a woven crust. And I'm like, which was my favorite dessert. So I was like, okay. you know, and at the same time, you know, he's been on San Diego search and rescue and climbed El Capitan and pulled people out of, you know, burning houses and, you know, all of that man stuff. And then he'll bake me a cake.
And so on the calls with sales mastery and all of that you do, though, he's not. Is he on those? Because I know he turned up for $1 Million Heart. That was the first time I'd seen him on anything. Does he show up at all in anything else you do?
He's on our team, but he's not on the coaching staff.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about different things that he could do, but we haven't really created a role for him. And it's funny because, you know, I hold the brand. He is so not our brand. He's like not our brand. I mean, I can't say he's not our brand. I don't know how I would. I mean, he, like, if I'm Grace, he's Tax, like push pins. Like, he is so blunt and so, like, I have to remind him, like, other people are in the room when he talks, because most people cannot keep up with his lack of filter. So he doesn't have a direct coaching role, though he's a phenomenal coach. I mean, he could certainly, he could coach anybody and do it very effectively. I mean, in our other company, he coached. It's great. I don't know that I would put him on stage, but if we kind of boxed him in, I could do it.
No, that's okay. That's okay. What's your mom's name?
Roberta.
When did you get into selling medical devices in the timeline of your marriage?
I started selling scientific equipment right after I didn't get into medical school. I was like 24. And then that's when I started dating Greg. Like around that same time, I started selling equipment, medical equipment. I was dating Greg. I moved to Chicago during that relationship. That's where I was like, I moved to a city where I didn't know anybody to do a job that was the scariest thing I could think of to sell. And then I moved back to California and I quit my job to go to acupuncture school because I really, really thought I was going to be an acupuncturist. And I wanted to learn how my doctor in San Francisco treated my skin. Well, I went to acupuncture school for 5 years. And then I found out after that, it was going to be like another 5 years to get this thing with medical, like to understand the herbal part for the skin. And at that point I had already had Dylan and I didn't want to, like, I was like, I don't want to go to school for another 5 years. And Greg and I were not getting along at all. And so it was just like really obvious that what I needed to do was get a job, not build a practice so we could get divorced, you know? So I did. So after I got out of grad school, I went back into sales, and I was doing that from the time he and I split up until a couple of years ago when I quit to start my own company. So when I met Peter, I was working, I don't know, when did I meet Peter? 2009. So yeah, I was in the middle of a really great job when I met him. Yeah. I mean, I had this opportunity when Greg moved out. I mean, I kept the house and we decided that I would stay in it because we had bought an investment property by the beach, which was like his dream house. So I stayed in the suburbs. He went to the beach, and Dylan was in kindergarten. So he got to stay at my house so he could go to kindergarten. We thought that would be more stable for him not to have to move schools and stuff. But I couldn't afford to live in that house. And after we split up all our assets, I was like, oh shit, I need to make some money. And so that's when I really got even better at selling. Like I tripled my income that quarter, or tripled my sales that quarter, because I had to. And so that's why I am, that's why I can coach sales, is like, you need to sell something. This is what you got to do. Like, and everything else doesn't matter anymore. And then from then on, I just made more and more money selling because I just got so good at it.
I've learned more in the last 40 minutes than I've known in 2 years. This is so good. I'm going to retell your story for you soon.
Okay.
I almost want to do a video with you too. You and I in front of a fireplace with 2 armchairs and 2 cameras set up. So one on the 2 of us and one on you. And really capture that raw emotion. Because there is so much more that people can identify with than I knew it. I mean, I knew it was there, I just didn't know it. It's always there, you just got to find it.
People don't usually ask.
That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And the why is, everybody's all about the why, but I want to know the how. How did you get to where you got to? And it's so important. So important.
Yeah. I mean, I had this, when I got out of school and I went back into sales, I had this amazing job, but it's actually where, like, I actually started selling when I was in college. The summer of 91, I was in Boston for the summer, and there were no jobs. It was a recession here. So there were no jobs. There were, lawyers waiting tables in restaurants because people couldn't get work. But I was a college student, so I didn't need a lot of money. So I found this ad in the newspaper for some kind of direct, like MLM kind of place, but I didn't know. So I show up at this business park. I go inside one of these little, business park suites. And the job is that you take these bottles of perfume knockoffs every morning and you go out on the street and you try to sell them. And so I had this little bag and I would take 8 bottles. I would be like, if you like Hugo Boss, then you'll love Hugo Ross or whatever. If you like Polo, you'll love Rolo, and I would go out all day and I would try to sell these bottles of perfume just walking around. And I made enough money to buy a Subway ticket and a cheeseburger at McDonald's each day. I did it for a couple of weeks, but there was a guy there that within, 2 or 3 weeks, he was a manager. He had sold like 400 bottles of perfume by the end of the month. And I was like, how in the world do you do that? And he goes, well, I just talked to 60 people an hour. And I was like, you do what? And I was really, really shy. I mean, I was like 18 years old, had always been shy, told not to speak unless spoken to, but I did make enough money to buy my Subway ticket back to my house. But not long after that, I got a real job in a fast food restaurant. But when I finally went into sales, like later, it was the same thing again. Like, how do you talk to strangers? How do you get people to buy something when you're terrified to talk to them? I mean, I remember people in college thought I was a total bitch.
That is such an amazing blog title.
In college, people thought I was a bitch because I would be in a class, like I would be in chemistry with them for an entire semester. But if I saw them walking down the hall, I wouldn't say hi. But it was because I was too shy. And the other problem that I have is I don't recognize faces. Everybody looks familiar to me. Everybody. So I could see some, and it's been a problem. I have like these funny stories from when I was a little kid, like going home with the wrong families after school because I thought it was Erin, but it wasn't because she looks like Erin. Like, I don't know why, but it's really hard for me to recognize faces. So, if I see you out of context, I might know you for 2 or 3 years, but if you're in the wrong location, like the context is wrong, I won't recognize you. And so people would walk down the hall and I was either too shy. Maybe that's why I was shy. I don't know. So I was either shy or I wouldn't recognize them. So I wouldn't say anything, but it wasn't because I wasn't trying to be unfriendly.
I actually had a lady at the Sassy event come up to me, an African-American lady, after I spoke. She said, do you remember me? We spoke last time. And I'm like, in my head, it's like, having a freaking clue. I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, how nice to see you again. And she hugged me, and it was like, oh, I had to look at her badge, just like, I have zero idea that I admit. But she remembered me. So you have to just run with it, right?
Well, it happens all the time. And as you get more and more well-known, I mean, it happens a lot now, right? Like all the time I go places, they're like, oh, hey, Jennifer. I'm like, so sorry, I don't remember. Like, you try, but
That's why I do the Post-it notes. Because just the cognitive writing down the name, I instantly remember who they are. Anyway, we're over time. What have you got next? You must be going somewhere else. Or not?
I have a strategy call at 4:15.
Okay. So, other thing, off topic. Rumor has it that you don't like the cover of your ebook.
That is correct. Well, I actually like it. Stacy does not.
Oh, okay. So,
But it's just not up to my current brand.
yeah. So, who designed it?
It's a graphic designer actually that I still use. It was just before my branding was done. It was like my first free gift ever. So we just haven't caught it up to the current brand.
Okay. So, do you want us to help you with that, or is Stacy going to do that?
I don't know. It's not on my list of things that are important. Do you think it is?
Well, Lindsay did. Yeah.
She thought it was did she design something?
She hasn't yet, but she asked me to ask you because she didn't want to be in that awkward place that Stacy had done it or something like that. And we suddenly said, because you didn't like it, you didn't want to tell Stacy or vice versa or whatever. And I wasn't sure what the story was. But it's a big deal because that's your download on your homepage and we want to make it super sexy.
Okay. Well, you guys want to take a stab at it? I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
The thing for me is I don't want it to look like a downloadable PDF. It needs to look like a book.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. They're two different things.
Yeah.
You know, book cover, if you think like bookshelf book cover, not like downloadable PDF book cover.
I've actually done
makes any sense.
I've done something very different with mine because so many people have Kindle and Kobo now. I made mine an iPad looking Kindle. So it's a download, but it's a download on an iPad mini. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm. I don't think I remember. I don't remember the cover.
No, it's new. Like in the last couple of weeks.
I didn't see it. Okay.
Do you want to just? I could share screens.
Okay.
1 second. This has been enormously valuable to get to know you as a friend better and appreciate you even more, but equally so for me to be able to tell your story. It's huge. So thank you. Okay, see?
Cool.
And that way people can see, because most people don't print them off anymore. They just,
Right.
I think a lot of people just download them and don't do anything. But in this instance, I've saved it to my iBooks on my phone. So all my PDFs I save to my phone in iBooks now. And that's what I read when I'm traveling. Because that's the generation that we're in now. So what do you think about something like that?
I like it.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Simple, straightforward, very clear.
Yeah. Did I show you this?
Not cluttered. Lots of white space. Hey!
What do you think?
I love it. So good.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Oh.
I deliberately asked Stacey. I told her exactly the angle I wanted. I want as many heads as possible. I want the room to look really full. And I want to be engaged. And I thought she did a fabulous job.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, very, very happy with this.
Cool.
Yeah, so, yeah. And then I've got a couple of testimonies from Lisa Rinaldi and so on. So working on that. And of course, there we are. Yeah. And then the other one, I think I showed you this already, right?
I told Lindsay I want one of those.
Yeah, we definitely do. But for me, I'm really trying to promote the client work and the speaking work at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to promote with you the client work because that's where you're going to make your money. You're not pushing yourself into a keynote person, are you? You're pushing yourself into the relationship selling circles, right? Or not?
What are you asking?
Do you want to specifically have a stream of income where you get paid to speak, or are you rather more around your coaching practice? Because this particular page for me is really pushing people into getting me to come speak. But I've got touches of the client work that I do, because normally at the end of my speaking, people sign up to join as a client, right? So that's why I've tried to get the balance of both.
Oh, I see. Yes, I am on a big live speaking tour. So yeah, I want to promote myself as a speaker, but also client work. But the third thing I see for this page is it's actually a credibility page.
Yeah.
Like all the shots of the famous people that you know are on this page, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Including you.
So, yeah, I mean, same for me. I mean, I want to get booked to speak in lots and lots of places. So not as a paid speaker necessarily, but
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
With you. Yeah, I changed that picture up from literally the other day to put this one in right in the center.
I like it.
I just thought it just personifies relationship.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's interesting. The page gets bigger, but the images don't. Oh, interesting. I didn't know. It's a responsive theme, so I guess Pages built it with code in it. Interesting.
Well, thank you for letting me share. I hope that helps you with my story.
Helped me so much. I love you so much. So it's not that I didn't love you, don't get me wrong. But I actually feel a lot more connected to you now. Love it. I mean, I love the fact that you guys came over and spent some days with us in Palm Desert. I really wanted that, because that's how I build my connection. You know, just getting to know the real person rather than the business meeting person.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay, I got a lot more I can do now.
Okay, good.
This is going to be revolutionary for your next Speak to Sell event.
Okay. Let's make a date to talk again, because we have some things to go over for you next, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sometime next week.
Uh-huh. Monday or Wednesday morning?
Nope, Wednesday's completely, but Monday's good. Anytime after 12.
Okay. 3?
3 on Monday's perfect.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I did have a long talk to Mirabelle last week about her launching stuff. It's a lot. I'm not saying she's not worth it, but it's a lot of investment.
For her to manage your launches?
I don't think I need it. I need some elements and I need some structure. But between you and me and our brains together, I don't need to find $42,000 US to do that as well. I just don't think I think for some people who just don't have it to have a turnkey solution, I think it's fantastic. But I only need a couple of elements out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally.
Okay. Yeah, I we could talk about it more. I think we need to plan what you're going to launch and then kind of assess what you're going to need.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm almost feeling like having a salesperson is going to serve you more.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting letting go.
Yeah. I mean, you're the bottleneck, right? So for the money. Me too.
But at the same time, I don't know how much more, I capacity wise, I have to just keep scaling it. I mean, I just can't quantumly change it too much.
Yeah.
But I will. It's all good.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
It's been
Thank
awesome.
you. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Talk to you soon.